I think we're going to do the same thing we did last week, Ray. Now
Yeah.
with added Bobby, to just go through and we're going to list off the power rankings because it's really just more interesting to talk about the playoffs and where we're going to be coming up and what everything looks like. So the power rankings are as follows, and I'm gonna have a couple bugbears here, Bobby, but only minor ones. The Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Lions, the Vikings, the Steelers, the Packers, the Ravens, the Broncos, the Bucs. The Bucs being number 10 over the Houston Texans, I think, is a little unfair. I think the Texans having one more win than them, the Texans being clearly a better team than them, the Texans being number one in their division and getting home fields locked up. They're fourth in the AFC. I mean, come on. The Houston Texans could surely have done enough. Just because we were all disheartened and disappointed with them, surely they've done enough to be the 10th best
So
team.
it was between them and the
week.
Bucs. I'm not going to lie. The reason I picked the Bucs was just because of how painful.
And I get that the Bucs beat the Chargers because they were the 10. I get it. I understand. It's not completely outlandish, but I want to make the case for the Houston Texans at this point because I think we're all just a little too mad at them because we're all disappointed with them, right? Like we all thought they were going to be better than they were for this season.
The reason that they took the spot is because of how bad they beat the Chargers. To put up 40 points against the number one scoring defense in the league is very, very impressive. Very impressive. Baker looked awesome. And if that's the Baker that we get in the playoffs, I wouldn't want to face them in January whatsoever.
But that's, I mean, once again, I've irrationally been a supporter of them. They're healthy again. I'm like, when they're healthy, if this is what they look like, they're good. They're going to put up numbers offensively. That's just what they're going to do. Are they winning the Super Bowl? Of course not. But once again, just like last year, when they suck and they beat Philadelphia last year, like they will find a way to beat you in the wild card weekend if you take them lightly. And that's all I was saying about them. Like he's good enough to get you a playoff game, maybe even two on a good week. So him and Mike Evans. Like I said, listen, Mike Evans first.
Mike Evans 2 TD weeks are my favorite things. You know, I love watching Mike Evans haul down 2 sick touchdowns. You know, I love that guy, and I think that offense is really root forable. You know, and I really do genuinely get it. And Baker sort of having a resurgence after getting Clevelanded, I think is awesome. And you know, Baker being the kind of guy that's going to come out and say like, oh, I've got to get him 1,000. I got to get Mike 1,000-yard season. I got to get him 1,000-yard season. You know, like this is stuff we're rooting for in football, and it's good. And I guess in that sense, why would you put him at number 10 then? Because inevitably they're going to have a terrible week next week now, Bobby. the spot's
they're playing Dallas
that was
Sunday.
Sneaky. You see what I did there? I
see.
They're playing Dallas Sunday. So I don't know. And then they end out with the Carolina and then New Orleans. So this
is Bobby's "you shall not pass" moment. I love it.
Yeah, they can go either 11-6 or 10-7. Like it's possible. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, I don't know. I just think to me they've won 4 in a row. I'm looking at I know it was the Giants, the Panthers, the Raiders, and then the Chargers. And like surprisingly, I said the Chargers was the most convincing win.
Teams,
and once again on the road. You know,
correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they beat the Lions this year?
I'll tell you right. Hold on. I'll tell you right now.
I'll put it to you this way though.
They beat the Lions 20-16 at week 2. Yeah. So that's the thing.
If the playoffs started today, they'd be playing the Packers, and I wouldn't want to be the Packers. I wouldn't want to be the Packers in that situation. I might bet the Bucs if the playoffs started today. So I think it is fair enough. I wanted to just make the case for the Houston Texans because I do feel like they're unfairly maligned. Like if they win, because who are the Texans playing? Someone big. Chiefs. Let me check. Chiefs. So they're playing the Chiefs next. I mean, okay, yeah, they're probably going to win. It's going to be 16-15 Chiefs, and there's going to be a controversial holding that wasn't called at the very end during a field goal. That's my prediction for that game. I wouldn't want to be the Packers if it started today and the Bucs are coming in, and thank God, because honestly the NFC just looks so soft for the past like 3 or 4 weeks. But a healthy resurgent Bucs I think is good for all of us. It's good for football. Ray and I still fighting for our lives when it comes to the Denver Broncos. It's just absolutely fighting for our lives that they are 9-5, number 6 in the AFC, the stronger conference. And if the playoffs started today, they would be playing the Steelers.
No,
I wouldn't want to be the Broncos. I wouldn't want to be the Broncos in that situation. I
Right,
think the
but-
Steelers slapped them to the side.
Can Bo Nix be Tebow 2.0?
Oh my God. I can't live in my house if that happens. If
Throwing
Oh
an 80-yard
my
route
God.
to Mims is like touchdown.
No, it would be to Cortland Sutton. Sutton would be the comparable.
if that happens,
that
I'm burning
would
my
be
house
insane.
down.
That would be insane.
I can't.
And once again,
I
never.
can't.
I know my boy Brooks just watched it. He gonna watch this. Brooks, don't text me saying nothing crazy. It's just a scenario. It's just entertainment, buddy. I'm not.
We'll
I don't
see.
think it's.
I mean, it might not happen. There's games that can move around over the next 3 weeks. You know, this isn't locked in yet. This is just if it happened today, and I do have to put that disclaimer out there. But God damn it, I think the Steelers would brush them aside easily. I genuinely do, and I think the Steelers would look like the team that they've looked like for the most of the year, despite some inconsistencies at some time. I still think Russell. I mean, he always sort of had those games, right? Like that's not even 36-year-old. And also, I'll just make the case right now, since we're talking about it in the whole thing. You have the Steelers below the Vikings. And I understand what happened last week is the Steelers lost to the number 2 team in the power rankings, the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Minnesota Vikings beat the Bears, which isn't all that impressive. But we have to talk about the Vikings being frauds. We just have to talk about them being frauds because I have to tell you the list of teams that they've beaten. Okay. And you guys just jump in, and I mean just shout right over me when you hear a good team. Just whenever you hear a good team, you just shout that right out, okay? And I mean a good team. You're going to have to make the case that they're a good team, not an average team, not an above average team, but a good team. So, ready? Here's their last few games. They beat the Bears. They beat the Falcons. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Bears. They beat the Titans. They beat the Jags. They beat the Colts. They lost to the Rams. They lost to the Lions. They beat the Jets. They beat the Packers.
Okay,
They beat the Texans.
The Packers are
Week one.
the only good team.
So okay.
I think that but you have to remember how the Packers season started. That's the Jordan Loveless Packers. So I think that there's an asterisk there. And I think the Texans, I think is probably their biggest claim to fame is beating the Texans this year. And you wouldn't even put the Texans in the top 10. So who are these Vikings, dude? Come on. You see what type of team this is. It's so obvious.
I'll give a good analogy. I think
the Atlanta Falcons. The
no,
Atlanta
Steelers
Falcons.
a couple years ago.
Not even the Falcons. What? No, not even them. They're the 2019 Patriots. 2019 Patriots came out.
Make your case.
Came out the gate swinging. We were 8-0, smacking everybody. And then we faced that guy in Baltimore on Sunday night, and he ripped us to shreds. And
I want to talk about him.
It went downhill. So right now they could be the 2019 Patriots. They could be, but at the end of the day, you play who's in front of you.
It's good. And
yeah, they play. You play who's in front of you. They've been winning games. So 12 out of 14 is good regardless.
Fine. Is that what we're doing? Are we doing play who's in front of you? Bobby, you wouldn't let me do play who's in front of you when the Steelers won 11 games in a row.
As a fan, it's watching your team lose 8. They lost 2 out of 8. No, sorry, 6 out. Excuse me. They've lost 6 out of 8 one score games. It is hard to win the NFL. And once again, they are doing this.
Okay,
but
I'm making the case compared to the Steelers because look at who the Steelers have beat. The Steelers are below the Vikings in the power rankings. And I'm just making this case in isolation. I'll just read you out the Steelers. They lose to the Eagles. I no shame in that. They beat the Browns divisional. They beat the Bengals divisional. But you guys made the case earlier for the Bengals. They lost to the Browns divisional. Yeah. They beat the Ravens. Sorry, but they beat the Ravens.
Yeah, they're worse losses to the Colts. They're worse losses to the Colts this year.
Yes, that is absolutely their worst loss. That's the only team that they should have beat that they didn't beat. With the Browns, I think you can give them the divisional, like, snowing. Jameis Winston's an insane person. Thursday night game. I think you can give them a little bit of grace on that one. I do agree that the time they didn't show up was against the Colts. They beat the Ravens. They beat the Commanders. That was back-to-back games, and that was when everybody had to take them seriously. That's just the way it is, right? Like, that was just the way it is. They beat the Giants before that, and the Jets, whatever. Who cares about that? The Raiders, who cares about that? They were in a pretty competitive game against the fully healthy Cowboys and lost by 3 points. So that could go either way. They beat the Chargers, who were 10th on this list last week. So, they're at least flirting with the top 10. They beat the Broncos, who are inexplicably, on this list every single week, because they're winning a shitload of games. Not a lot of people can say they beat the Broncos, and they beat the Falcons at the start of the year when the Falcons were playing well. They beat the Falcons when the Falcons were playing well, which was in the first 6 weeks. So to me, the case is obvious. Because imagine they play each other right now. It's the Super Bowl. It's an AFC, NFC inexplicable matchup. Somehow the Vikings have made it all the way to the Super Bowl, and not that inexplicably the Steelers have made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Who wins? Bobby, come on. I can see it in your face.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. Well, let me ask this then.
I love how we have this argument with the Steelers so much. It's always the Steelers. Always.
No, but let me ask this one. Would you change Kansas City and Pittsburgh? Because Kansas City's been eking wins. They've been barely winning games, and they haven't beat anyone great either.
If we're talking playoffs,
even having the Chiefs at number 3.
No, but I mean, that's a fair argument. I was like, we're saying, hey, right now, who have you beaten, or who have you?
You know what I will tell you? You know what I will tell you though? The Steelers play the Chiefs on Christmas Day, and what I earmark that as in defense of the Steelers, what I earmark that as, all they need is Week 16 Giants versus Patriots energy. All they need is Week 16 Giants against the Patriots, the year the Patriots went undefeated. All they have to do is bloody their nose that week. The Steelers could lose that game on Christmas Day, but if they come out and bloody their nose and show them, like, yeah, okay, we might have lost to the Eagles, but the chances of us seeing the Eagles, they got to go through the gauntlet over there. So, like, whatever. In the playoffs, we're going to fucking see each other, right? So they bloody their nose, and that's all they're at. I mean, that's so ideal, that game. So when it comes to the Chiefs, like, the Steelers are the most set up. They're the most set up to beat the Chiefs this year. I really promise you that they are. And we should all want that. We should all want that. We don't want them to three-peat. You don't want them to three-peat, Ray. You are walking through the streets carrying the carcass of Thomas Brady. You don't want them to three-peat.
I said at the beginning of the year, I was like, if they go on and do that, because I think they're going to, if he does,
I do too.
You put that cap on his feather. So, but I've conceded to that, and I'm totally fine with it. Once again, do I still believe that Tom Brady's the best? Of course I do, because I'm a Patriots fan.
I just don't want to have that argument.
When you win 3 in a row, or if you win 3 in a row, that's pretty undeniable at that moment, regardless of what people want to say. That's once again, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So if you win 3 in a row, that's
2010, we're on our way to the club.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So just like that, that's just what it is. But I don't know, man.
No, we'll see.
I said, Pittsburgh will be a tough out.
Chiefs at number 3 right now.
Even
having the Chiefs at number 3 right now, it just seems like it's so counterintuitive, because, like, yes, it makes sense that I have the Bills and Eagles above them the way the season is going, but God damn it. Do you guys really think that any of those teams are going to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? Like, if we did that game that we always play, the Chiefs are going to come out on top again.
If Buffalo offensively plays the way they've played recently, they have the best shot of anybody, because there's no one that can score like them in AFC besides Kansas City.
Yeah. Baltimore.
No, they can't.
Can we actually have the Josh Allen Lamar? Can we have the Josh Allen Lamar question?
Baltimore was not putting up 40 the way that Buffalo put up 40. That's not.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying is, I want to have the Josh Allen Lamar Jackson conversation, because I don't want to be that guy. But if we're talking MVP race, I think Lamar clears it. I just think he clears it again. And I know it's boring. And I know that the national conversation is going towards Josh Allen because of how he's played over the last few weeks. And honestly, over the course of the season. And I really do understand why people are saying what they're saying about him. But in every conceivable metric, Lamar is still better. He's thrown like 10 more touchdowns than him. Like, he's just better.
It would be 3.
It would be a third in a row, right? Would it be 3rd in a row? No.
Yeah. Second in a row.
Oh. Yeah, it'd be second. He won one in 2019, so no, this would be a second in a row. But
right.
Listen, I have loved how he's looked this year. Talk about Lamar. I just know when you lose the weapon that Diggs lost in the offseason, and Stephon Diggs, and people said all your success was tied to 14, and you wouldn't be much without 14. and he's come out looking like how Matt Stafford looked when he lost Calvin Johnson, and they're slinging it all over, and they're giving
totally fair in context. Yeah,
that's where I feel like he'll probably, if he does win it, that's what the people are going to go with.
There were major
Baltimore added weapons too.
If Lamar wins it, obviously.
Josh Allen lost weapons and Baltimore added weapons. So
right, correct.
Yeah, I mean, fine, but if that's all well and good, but I do think that's what's sweeping everybody up is the Josh Allen sort of hero ball. You know, like he's looking like he's playing a full game of NFL Street out there. It's insane. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch, and he does look like Roy the Rover's out there. You know, he looks like he's winning the game by himself. He's putting the team on his back. It looks awesome. But I'm just looking at the way they call the MVP every year. If you're a betting man, I wouldn't bet on Allen. I really wouldn't, because if you just look at every conceivable metric, every single metric that seems to get taken into account, he loses on every single one. It's more a Mike Marcangelo approach in the MVP voting every year, I promise. Otherwise, Pat Mahomes would win every year, right? Otherwise, Mahomes would be the favorite this year, right? Even though he's not playing his best, he was who won last year or 2 years ago, by the way.
Who's or even last player we've seen went 3 in a row? It was Favre, right?
Let me go back. I got the list in front of me here. Let me go all the way back. Manning won 2 in a row.
Yeah,
Rodgers won 2 in a row a couple times.
Favre won from 95 to 97. And he easily was the best quarterback.
A couple running backs. Sean Alexander and LaDainian Tomlinson back to back. That seems like a far away shout. Peyton Manning and Steve McNair.
I remember that.
Split it. Kurt Warner, Brett Favre. Okay, yeah. Well, okay. Asterisk. Brett Favre split it with Barry Sanders. So gotcha. I don't know. Okay. I think a pure 3 in a row probably trumped that, right?
Gotcha. So yeah. So if there was any player to split it with, I mean, my God, I mean,
totally. I mean, just give it to Barry Sanders though. At that point. Like looking back, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
just give it to Barry Sanders.
But yeah, it just goes to show just how dominant that position has been. But yeah, I think that I don't know. I mean, we could see a split again. It could be a split of Lamar and Josh.
I would think that would be cool. Actually, that would be something sweet. I would be into that.
That would be the only other viable option. Like, there's no one else that to me is even close.
I've been trying to make the case for Saquon. I've been trying to make the case just because if you're going to choose from any position that's not quarterback, if it was week 8, I get Derrick Henry, but I think over the course of the season, I really do think Saquon's been like he's an LaDainian Tomlinson level season, and we gave it to LT. So
yeah, I was like 20 years ago, we would have gave it to Saquon easily.
Yeah, 100%
easily. And I just don't see how
it's not going to happen. I'm just saying
I don't see how you can't give it to Josh or to Lamar at this moment. Obviously, there's still a few weeks left in the season, but once again, Josh Allen has a resurgence, and like I said, we talked about him being the guy in that division once Brady left.
He's a ton of fun to watch. Honestly, he really is. I'm not trying to be a little Debbie Downer ass bitch about it. I'm really not trying to be that dude. It's just that like
with different viewpoints, but I mean, it's just like I just think to me, it has to be them two. Jared Goff has been awesome in Detroit too. Because it's just funny what was said about his career.
Yeah, no,
he's going to be a guy. But for them to be 12-2. Once again, Jared Goff was written off in
no, totally. I wrote him off. And for fuck's sake, I was all done with him. So
once again, that's probably more of a feel good story than anything else. Because of how far they've taken off. But like I said, just when you look at if he had a few more games like we had last Sunday, some of Goff, we had 2 for 500 and find that like insane. That was wild. I remember him in Super Bowl 53. That guy to where he's become now, there's no way I thought that guy would throw for 500 yards in the game, like ever.
Yeah. No, I agree. I really do agree. And he's definitely proven me wrong. I'm willing to admit that at this point in time. Okay, just real quick because we've run out of time. I wanted to talk briefly about the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
That was not a good performance, and it was not a good performance in the sense that like all the things you might potentially be worried about with the Lions, like the fact that they've been able to sort of patch their defense back together. What does it look like against a really elite offense? Yeah, I mean, Campbell's been making the right decisions. What happens when the game's on the line? Does he have another skittish like weird thing? It was a playoff preview game, right? I mean, as much as obviously they're in different divisions, playing games of that magnitude, different conferences, playing games of that magnitude against teams that elite gives you a little bit of a playoff preview vibe. And I'm worried that their defense is too injured, and I'm worried that Dan Campbell is going to make a really dumb, boneheaded decision again in the playoffs. I'm really genuinely worried about both those things, and I'm really pulling for the Lions, man. I don't want to see the Eagles come out of the NFC. I truly don't. I want to see someone spoil the Eagles party. It has explosion written all over it. I thought it was going to be this week because of all the locker room stuff that was coming up, but then it didn't seem to matter at all. Maybe Sirianni's just a weird genius and he's not an idiot and I'm the idiot. I really hope that's not the case. I just want the Lions to be the NFC team. I want that to be the case so badly. Even if they die on the last leg of the hill against the Chiefs, I just want them to be the NFC team at this point. I'm really pulling for them, and I'm just worried they're going to make a calamitous playoff error. Am I crazy to think that?
I mean, no. I mean, I think
also the defense.
No, facts. I mean, I think that it's the same thing that brought you to the dance is the same thing that can send you home. And I think with Dan Campbell, they're living with that. It's like, hey, aggression got us here. So aggression.
I wish that I had not have done
that. Aggression will send them home. So, to me, you do what got you to the dance. You don't switch up now. I'm totally fine with that. Once again,
well, but that's the problem. I'm worried that recipe isn't winning.
Right? But okay, same thing in San Francisco. But that's what I'm saying. It's just like it's like you do what got you to the dance, though. It's like, and I'm fine with it. Like I said, I think that once again, they have not been this relevant in years.
Totally. But you still got to set the whole thing is the culture. You got to forget the lines of the past. Like we're reaching for our goals, kind of a thing. Don't put yourselves in context. That's loser mentality, right?
Oh, sure, but I mean, you think about Barry Sanders and Scott Mitchell and Herman Moore and
but then also 0-16 and fucking
right,
divisional opponents every single year. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, what it's on?
Matt Stafford just languishing down there. You know what I mean? Like it's just and then succeeding elsewhere. Like this is a franchise that I think deserves it, but they shouldn't be thinking about that shit. What were you going to say about?
And it had a press conference or it was a radio interview where he said, You can't have the prizes unless you eat the moldy bread first. And that's what happened this past week. Is they ate the moldy bread and it just, you know what I mean? Sometimes you got to get kicked in the face a little bit in order to succeed.
I mean, it's the right coaching thing to say. I totally agree. I hope you're right. I really, really hope you're right. But I don't know. I'm a little worried about them. I'm a little worried that we're going to see them play the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, and I'm worried that they're going to do something dumb and they're going to lose by 3. Like that's. I'm rooting for them. I really am. As far as teams that can beat the Chiefs, the conversation we have every week, we sort of touched on that. I like the Steelers maybe in the AFC still. Bills if they can score like they score, but you know what happens in the playoffs, boys, is like things change. Patrick Mahomes gets better. They go